All right, let's get into some preview and predictions here on NFL matchups for Week 12 in the National Football League. It starts with Thursday night football action. AFC North division rivals, Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh coming off of a glorious win, thrilling win against another divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, where they did not score a single touchdown, but their kicker, Chris Boswell, kicked them to victory. This week, they got a matchup against another divisional rival with the Browns. I think this one's going to be closer than expected. Teams in this division really play each other tough. I believe that the Steelers will prevail overall. They have the better talent right now. They got a little bit more mojo going. Jameis Winston against this Pittsburgh defense, I think, is going to throw a couple picks here. A lot of it, too, is because he's going to feel pressure. And on top of that, he's kind of a maverick when it comes to the ball and protection. He's going to throw it out there, and I believe the Steelers will be ready. TJ Watt's going to have a feast out there. But I do think it's going to be close just because the Steelers offense have been a little bit inconsistent, although Russell Wilson is playing fairly okay. But this past weekend, you saw some struggles there, especially down the field. He was able to connect on some intermediate passes. But overall, I feel like the Steelers should win this game, but it's going to be a close one. All right, let's look at the defending champs taking on the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers at home, surprisingly, play okay. They play okay. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still not a great football team. Bryce Young finding his way through the NFL now. But listen, Chiefs coming off of a loss, a game that they probably thought that they probably should have won, right? If you ask them, they're probably thinking, yeah, you know what, we're down in this game, but we got Mahomes, we got Andy Reid, we got the Chiefs kingdom, we got the magic. We should win that game against Buffalo, but they didn't. They fall short. Now they got to head back on the road to Carolina in Charlotte to play the Panthers. On paper, this is not even close, right? This should be a mixed match, but I think it'll be close in the beginning just because the Chiefs offense isn't that explosive, but overall, through attrition, the Chiefs should pull away from this, from the young Panthers there and get the win. All right, we got Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears, an NFC North clash here. Bears coming off of a loss, a game that they probably should have won that game if it wasn't for a blocked field goal at the end against the Packers. Listen, the Bears, I don't know, man. They have what it takes, obviously, right? Offensively, Caleb Williams still just doesn't look all that impressive. The running game is kind of their only saving grace at this point. Defense, they can be had in certain occasions. And then you look at Minnesota where, Sam Darnold has become the issue, right? Which is weird because in the beginning of the year, he wasn't the issue. He was a candidate for early MVP, right? But nonetheless, I think the Bears have an actual chance to win this game. So I'm going to actually take the Bears in this one. Although I still like the Vikings, but I feel like the shine from the Vikings is starting to wear off a little bit. I think they're still a good football team. I think they're playing above expectations, and I think they're starting to come down. Basically, it's like a Cinderella scenario where the clock has struck midnight, and they're kind of coming back to reality. I still think they'll make the playoffs, but I think the Bears will get them in this matchup. I got Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans. Texans coming off of a really big win on the road in the Battle of Texas over the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, just stomped them. That score does not reflect that game. Still a little concerning, though, with the Texans. CJ Stroud not living up to last year's performance as a rookie. I get it. It's kind of like a slump. Not saying that he's a bum by any stretch of the imaginary, but not really, like I said, living up to what we saw last year. Now, granted, he was down Nico Collins. He is down Stephon Diggs. So that'll, you can see kind of production tanking there a little bit. Joe Mixon is still a guy that they're going to have to use. He's going to have to be the bell cow for this team as they continue to try to make a case for themselves in the AFC. Because right now, to me, it's the Chiefs, Bills, and the Steelers. And then you have teams like the Ravens now who are kind of fading a little, well, not fading, but they slipped up a little bit. And then you got the Texans there. So you look at Tennessee side of things, Will Levis is still the quarterback there. Yeah, he's had a couple good plays here and there, but overall, I mean, this is not a very great football team. But these teams play each other relatively close. and in most cases for all of these divisional games, right, where the teams know each other well, the players know each other well, and so they can prepare themselves for that. So I think Tennessee should lose this game anyway, and Houston should win this game. I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I don't know what the spread is off the top of my head, but I would assume it can't be no more than a touchdown. But I can see the Tennessee Titans maybe covering for perhaps, but for sure the Texans winning this game outright. All right, Detroit Lions taking on the Indianapolis Colts. I'm not going to say much about the Lions. That they are on a warpath. They beat the crap out of Jacksonville. It wasn't even fair. Honestly, it was like watching a Madden game on rookie. They literally could not do anything wrong, and it showed. Now they got Anthony Richardson on the road. He's going to be the quarterback there. I don't believe in him still. I know he looked decent this past Sunday, but it's still Anthony Richardson. Maybe the benching maybe helped him, maybe brought some things into perspective. But at the end of the day, I mean, you beat the Jets and you only beat them by 1. You have a team that has unfinished business, and they're on a warpath. And I don't think that the Colts are good enough at this point. I think the Lions are the much stronger team, so I have no problem picking them here and getting the win on the road in Indianapolis. All right, we got New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins on the road. The Dolphins, pretty impressive win over the Raiders. Granted, it is the Las Vegas Raiders. But Tua's starting to look a bit more comfortable. I will say this, though, the running game, I think, is what's been most effective for the Miami Dolphins team. Being able to hand the ball off to these guys, get some yards, maybe, free up Tua, maybe not putting a lot of pressure on him to make those passes. Because, listen, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle haven't really had the seasons that we were expecting them to have. And a lot of it too, because, Tua was out, but he's back. He's been back. This is his 3rd or 4th game, if I'm not mistaken, but we haven't really seen that magic that they had last year where they were just throwing the ball over the field. Maybe, their coach there, Coach McDonald there says, well, let's just keep running the football and let's see what happens. Then you got New England. Drake May is probably the only bright spot. Tough loss last week for sure. But there is some promise there. Not sure if they have enough, though, on the road in Miami. The Dolphins are pretty decent at home, so I'm going to take the Dolphins there, too, as well at home. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New York Giants. There's a quarterback change for the Giants. Daniel Jones is no longer the quarterback going this week. It's going to be, I believe his name is Tommy DeVito or something like that. I know he kind of came across the scene last year as a fan favorite. Well, he's back. Taking over the reins for Daniel Jones. Is this the last time we see Daniel Jones in a New York Giants jersey? Probably not. Still a couple games left, so I wouldn't imagine that he'll be done. But for right now, for the foreseeable future, he is done. Then you got Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, probably one of the most disappointing teams so far. Granted, they've been hit by the injury bug exclusively at the wide receiver position with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans missing significant amount of time. But they found some guys in the running game like a Bucky Irving, but overall, they just haven't lived up to what I thought they should be. That this could be kind of a trap game. It's kind of weird, new quarterback. This guy, he makes kind of like weird plays, but, my heart is telling me that they're going to lose this game, Tampa Bay, but I got to go with my brain on this one. Just logically look at this as Baker Mayfield is the better quarterback in this matchup. So although he is missing some talent, he still got guys like Cade Otton there to get the job done. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay to win this one. I think it'll be closer, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. All right, Dallas Cowboys taking on the Washington Commanders in DC. Cowboys suck. Washington Commanders should win this game. Simple as that. Cowboys are not really good. It'll be a close game, but the Commanders should be the better team. They have the better quarterback. They have the better roster at this point. They have the better coach at this point. So they check all those boxes. To me, they should win this game. The Cowboys are not a good football team. They're 3-7 now. Winless at home. Their only wins have been coming on the road. If the Commanders really want to be taken seriously, you cannot falter to this team. I get it's a divisional game. It should be tight, but at the end of the day, they should prevail. So I'm going to go with the Commanders here. In the AFC West, we have the Denver Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Bo Nix threw for 4 touchdowns last week in a win against the Atlanta Falcons at home. Guess what? He's got another sorry-ass defense to go up against in the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is funny because the Raiders defense, I thought going into the season, was going to be something that they can hang their hat on. Unfortunately, they can't even hang anything on there because that unit sucks. Gardner Minshew is still going to be the quarterback. I know a lot of people here in Las Vegas are clamoring for Desmond Ridder. Not sure why. He sucks too. There's a reason why he was cut by the Falcons, then was loaded onto the Arizona Cardinals practice squad. The guy can't really play, but for whatever reason, the Las Vegas faithful here believe that he can. But Gardner Minshew should be the quarterback. He didn't play bad last week against the Dolphins, I would say, but he's got a tough defense to face this particular week. You see what the Denver's defense can do to quarterbacks, and their offense is looking pretty good too, with Bo Nix, really matriculating the ball down the field, making the right decisions, using his legs to get first downs and just create plays overall. I'm going to go with the Broncos in this one to win the game. We got a big one here. San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. Niners coming off of a tough loss, a divisional loss at home. Don't know the status of Nick Bosa yet. Green Bay Packers, they kind of escaped the jaws of defeat by a blocked field goal. Again, with the Packers, they're not consistent enough for me. They are at home. I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. There's something about the 49ers I think that people are starting to figure out against them. And I know Christian McCaffrey's back, and I know he presents a lot of matchup problems, but I think if there's a team that can handle them this week, the Packers can on defense. On the 49ers defense, on the other hand, they're struggling too. Geno Smith was able to do what he wanted to do last week towards the end of that game, resulting in a game-winning touchdown. The magic for 49ers, I believe, has worn off. This window for them to be this dominant team, I think it's almost closed, if not closed altogether. They got a lot of issues going on too, especially not just this season, but in the offseason. What are they going to do with Brock Purdy? All the money that they've invested in some of these other players out there. But I like Green Bay in this one. As long as Jordan Love can make the right plays down the stretch, not make these stupid turnovers. They're at home. They should have that going for them. So I like Green Bay in this one. All right, Arizona Cardinals on the road taking on Seattle. I really like the Arizona Cardinals in this matchup. I still think right now they're playing the best football in the NFC West. Defensively, they're starting to pick things up. Kyler Murray on the offense is making plays. He is continuing to establish that rapport between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. James Conner is running the football like a madman. Trey McBride is catching the ball all over the field, making plays. Seattle, on the other hand, really big win last week on the road in a place where they tend to not really win a lot. But Geno Smith kind of, he kind of cast those demons away. They are at home. That's an advantage. I still like Arizona in this particular matchup. I still think they're the more buttoned up team. I like Arizona in this one. Sunday Night Football, Philadelphia Eagles taking on the LA Rams. This one is an interesting one. Like on paper, Philadelphia is the better team for sure. And then you look at LA, they're kind of like they have a puncher's chance. You have the beast in Saquon Barkley come. Like you have to shut him down. I'm not quite sure if they can do that. I think this will be a high scoring affair. If I'm going to bet anything, I might bet the over on this one with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And then you got guys like Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley. Like there will be no lack of scoring for this one. Although I like the Rams, I like what they're doing. I know they're trying to stay in contention, but I just think the Philadelphia Eagles will just have a little bit too much, and it's going to be a war of attrition. I'm going to go with Philadelphia on this one. All right, to close out the week, this is a big matchup. Monday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens heading to LA to take on the LA Chargers. The Chargers survived this past Sunday night against the Cincinnati Bengals, and guess what? They got to turn back around and play another AFC North team in the Baltimore Ravens. So, listen, I don't think that the Ravens have the arsenal from a passing perspective as the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to boil down to, can the Chargers stop the run? That's what it's going to boil down to. And if they can't hold up that bargain, then they're going to be in for a long one. There were some things in that game that kind of boggled me a little bit with the Chargers. Now they ended up finishing the game. They won the game. Honestly, they probably should have lost that game. I don't expect the Ravens to have two stinkers. So I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think it's going to boil down to the last play of the game where the Ravens will have the ball and they're going to go in for the win. So it's going to be a good one, but I like the Baltimore Ravens in that one. So there you have it. Those are my previews and predictions for Week 12 here on NFL Matchups. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section.